morning, it's Brent Adams here with your Rural Strong Morning Ag Update here on this Wednesday, August the 30th, 2023, the 242nd day of the year. And I've got a special guest with me. It's Evie May, Clarksville Creative Sound recording artist Evie May. And she has got some new music that just came out knee deep in the water. Before we get into it, Evie, we're at the Farm Progress Show 2023. Tell us about this new single.
I'm super excited about it. We just actually recorded a music video for it yesterday down at Sycamore Springs in Indiana, and it was beautiful, so I'm excited for that to come out, for sure.
You're going to be hearing a lot more from Evie here, just a great emerging artist, the kind that Steve Shetler throws all his support behind here. You're going to be hearing a lot more about her, but we're here to talk about the Farm Progress Show 2023, day number 2. Starts at 8 a.m. Central Time, goes till 5 p.m. Tomorrow, Thursday, it goes from 8 to 4. A lot to see and do. 600 plus exhibitors, all the major manufacturers, seed companies, chemical companies, technology companies, you name it. They're right here on these grounds, and you can find out more about it at farmprogressshow.com. $20 to get in at the door. You can buy tickets advance online. A lot going on here. A lot's going to go on today, tomorrow. But right now, we're going to bring you the news.
Breaking this morning, 2 Atlantic tropical systems are now hurricanes, with one expected to gain strength in the Gulf of Mexico and reach the mainland U.S. Wednesday. More from USDA Radio's Rod Bain.
As we move into Tuesday, August 29th, we have 2 hurricanes on the map, both fairly close to the United States.
With Hurricane Idalia entering the southeastern Gulf of Mexico and expecting to make landfall Wednesday in the Big Bend of Florida, according to USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey.
The bad news is that the Gulf of Mexico is bathwater warm at this point. There is going to be an opportunity with light wind shear, very warm ocean temperatures, and a very favorable development for rapid intensification.
Possibly becoming a Category 2 or 3 hurricane when it makes landfall. Meanwhile, Hurricane Franklin is currently a Cat 4 system heading northward between the U.S. and Bermuda, and is not expected to make landfall again.
Since striking Haiti and the Dominican Republic last week and then moving north of that area, it's been pretty much an oceanic storm and expected to remain that for the rest of its life cycle.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
Rippey also talked about Idalia's possible impact on agriculture.
I think the only good news I can find from an agricultural side of this situation is that generally we'll be running through an area that is relatively sparsely agriculturally oriented land. We've got a much higher concentration of, for example, cotton and peanuts a little further to the west across southwest Georgia and central Georgia, for example. And then citrus, always a big concern with hurricanes. All of that is located further to the south and east of where Idalia is going to be passing.
The Environmental Protection Agency and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Tuesday announced a final rule amending the 2023 definition of waters of the United States. The final rule intends to conform with the recent Supreme Court decision in Sackett versus EPA. With this action, the Army Corps of Engineers will resume issuing all jurisdictional determinations immediately. In response, National Cattlemen's Beef Association Chief Counsel Mary Thomas Hart says, quote, "Today's revised WOTUS definition is an important step toward bringing the EPA more in line with the Supreme Court's ruling," end quote. American Farm Bureau Federation President Zippy Duvall says the EPA chose to continue government overreach and revise only a small slice of the rule that the Supreme Court rejected. Duvall adds, quote, "We're pleased the vague and confusing significant nexus test has been eliminated as the Supreme Court dictated. But EPA has ignored other clear concerns raised by justices, 26 states, and farmers across the country about the rule's failure to respect private property rights and the Clean Water Act." Well, the U.S. Cattlemen's Association applauds recent action by the U.S. Department of Agriculture to update the 2023 Livestock Indemnity Program payment rate. Late last week, USDA announced the payment rate for beef calves over 800 pounds will increase from $1,244 per head to $1,618, an increase of $374. The payment will apply retroactively to all qualifying losses since January 1st, 2023. No action is necessary for retroactive payments, and producers will receive an additional payment if applicable. Payments will be queued up for current losses as early as next week. FSA acknowledged that some animals might have lost weight due to extreme weather conditions, and they're working on how to handle those cases. USDA President Justin Tupper says, quote, "A loss in today's market has a significantly higher impact on a producer's bottom line, and the updated indemnity better reflects the value of that animal," end quote. Well, a new study from the National Oilseed Processors Association and the United Soybean Board highlights how the soybean industry has an impact on the U.S. economy. This 33-page study analyzes the soybean value chain's impact on the U.S. economy based on data from the crop years 2019-2020 to 2021-22. The data shows the total economic impact from the U.S. soybean sector averaged $124 billion, including $85.7 billion from soy production and $9.8 billion from soybean processing. The U.S. soy sector accounts for approximately 0.6% of the U.S. gross domestic product. There are more than 500,000 individuals involved in soy farm decision-making, and this includes 223,000 paid full-time equivalent jobs and an additional 62,000 family members beyond growers who reside on farms and are integral to the soybean farming operations. The total wage impact of the sector averaged $10 billion. United Soybean Board Chair and Missouri farmer Megan Kaiser says, quote, "It's reaffirming to see that the U.S. soybean industry has such a tremendous impact on U.S. farmers and the economy overall," end quote. Well, Pivot Bio on Tuesday announced Chris Abbott as its chief executive officer effective immediately. As previously announced, Pivot Bio co-founder and current CEO Karsten Temme will become chief innovation officer. Pivot Bio calls Abbott an industry leader and hands-on strategist who has focused his career on agriculture, water, sustainability, and technology. Pivot Bio board chairperson Roger Underwood says, quote, "His commercial acumen, financial know-how, and strong relationships across the agriculture industry are exactly what the company needs at this critical juncture to further accelerate our substantial momentum," end quote. The company is also announcing another year of rapid growth, with revenue increasing more than 60% in fiscal 2023, surpassing $100 million for the first time. It was the fourth consecutive year of growth for revenue and acres. The company anticipates this momentum will continue in 2024. Pivot Bio also revealed plans to increase manufacturing and distribution across the country to support continued growth and expand customer service for growers. Well, new data from the USDA's Economic Research Service shows the majority of potatoes in the United States are now sold in processed forms such as frozen, chipped, dehydrated, or canned. With the introduction of French fries as a key side dish in quick-service restaurants, the share of potatoes that go into frozen products has risen in each decade since 1979. As a result, almost half of all potatoes going into food in the United States are now used to create frozen products, most of which are French fries. Meanwhile, the share of potatoes used as fresh table potatoes has declined decade by decade. Per capita frozen potato availability during the pandemic-influenced 2019 through 2021 period, up 8% from a decade earlier. According to industry data and USDA research, in the early 2000s, about 90% of frozen French fries moved through various food service venues. Quick service restaurants alone account for about 2/3 of French fry usage. Also this morning, the ethanol industry is renewing its push for sustainable aviation fuel during USDA Secretary Tom Vilsack's visits to farm events in Illinois and Minnesota. The Farm Progress Show in Decatur, Illinois, and the Minnesota State Fair are seen as the backdrop this week for the latest push by the ethanol industry to get more corn alcohol into aviation fuel. Renewable Fuels Association CEO Jeff Cooper earlier.
You absolutely can make a carbon neutral fuel, whether it's for aviation uses or for motor vehicles. And frankly, we see some opportunity for ethanol to play in that aviation space as well. There's some ethanol to jet fuel technologies that are emerging very quickly.
The energy, transportation, agriculture, and other departments are working to scale up new technologies to produce sustainable aviation fuel on a commercial basis.
If you take an ethanol plant and pair it up with carbon capture and sequestration, or replace some of the natural gas usage with biogas, or do some other things, you can get the carbon intensity of that fuel down to zero or even negative.
But Cooper says that will take accounting for full well-to-wheel life cycle emissions to maximize tax credits for the fuel, something the Treasury is working out now, but EPA's Science Board seems to be fighting.
They're calling for more extensive analysis, and if EPA wants to do more analysis around corn ethanol's carbon footprint, have at it. Any objective science-based analysis is going to show that corn ethanol and the renewable fuel standard do reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
Cooper's Group points out that the so-called GREET model that measures life cycle emissions is part of the president's Inflation Reduction Act. Biden vowed recently farmers would provide 95% of sustainable aviation fuel in the next 20 years.
Well, again, the 2023 Farm Progress Show is going on here in Decatur, Illinois today, 8 to 5, tomorrow, 8 to 4. A beautiful week here in Central Illinois. We hope you'll get out here. Evie, thank you for joining us, and best of luck on the new single. We can't wait to hear more music from this new album coming out.
Thank you for having me. I'm extremely excited.
We're going to be back again tomorrow with another Rural Strong Media Ag update here, but we hope you have a great day. For now, it's Brent Adams. We'll see you tomorrow on Steve Shetler Media.